My boyfriend told me, I'm going clubbing with women from work. You can't stop me. We're not married. I looked at him and said, you're right. For the next 3 hours, I packed his clothes. By 3:15 in the morning, Ethan was standing outside my apartment, pounding on the door and demanding to know why he couldn't get back inside. My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 29 years old and Ethan Carter and I had been together for 2 years. For most of those 2 years, I genuinely believed I was going to marry him. 8 months earlier, Ethan had moved into my apartment after what he called a roommate situation that fell apart. I found out later that his roommate had actually gotten tired of covering Ethan's share of the bills, but at the time, all I knew was that my boyfriend needed somewhere to stay. It'll only be temporary, he told me while carrying his first box through my door, just until I get back on my feet. The arrangement seemed reasonable. Ethan would contribute $400 a month toward groceries and utilities, while I continued paying the $2,100 rent. I worked in software development and earned considerably more than he did. Ethan was a part-time retail manager making around $1,800 a month, so I wasn't asking for 50-50. I just wanted him to contribute. The first month he gave me $400, the next month $200, then $100. There was one more $100 payment after that and mostly excuses. By month 4, I'll get you next week, babe, had become his standard answer whenever I brought up money. Next week rarely came. I let it slide because I loved him. I told myself relationships weren't spreadsheets and that people went through rough periods. If we were building a life together, maybe this was simply the season where I carried more weight. The problem was, Ethan seemed to be getting very comfortable letting me carry it. That Friday, I got home a little after 6 and found him in front of the bedroom mirror. Dark shirt, new jeans, cologne. He looked more dressed up than he had for our last several dates. Going somewhere? I asked. He glanced at me through the mirror. Yeah, clubbing with some people from work. Tonight? Yeah. I set my keys on the dresser. Want me to come? He laughed, not cruelly, but enough that I noticed. No, it's not really your scene. My scene? You know what I mean. We're just going to dance, drink, blow off some steam. Something about the way he said we bothered me, but I didn't push. Have fun. That's the plan. Around 8, Ethan went into the bathroom. His phone was sitting on the couch when it buzzed. Then again. Then a third time. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. The notifications were visible on the screen. Can't wait to see you tonight. Wear that black shirt I like. Save me a dance. 3 different women. I was still looking at the phone when Ethan came back. Han saw my face, then followed my eyes to the screen. His shoulders tightened. Who exactly is going tonight? I asked. People from work. Which people? Why? Because 3 women just sent you messages that sound a little more personal than co-worker messages. His expression changed immediately. Were you checking my phone? No. Claire. It was lighting up on the couch. So you read my messages. I saw the notifications. He snatched up the phone. Oh my God. What? This controlling thing you do. I stared at him. What controlling thing? Interrogating me whenever I go somewhere. I asked who you're going clubbing with after 3 women sent you flirty messages. They're friends. One of them apparently has a favorite shirt she likes seeing you wear. She was joking. And the one asking you to save her a dance? Also joking. All 3 of them. His embarrassment hardened into irritation. I'm allowed to have female friends, Claire. I never said you weren't. You're acting like I need permission to go out. I'm asking why 3 women are flirting with my boyfriend before he goes clubbing with them. I grabbed his wallet. You know what? I'm not doing this tonight. Doing what? This jealous girlfriend routine. I folded my arms. If 3 men were texting me like that before I went clubbing without you, you'd be completely fine with it. I didn't answer. Then he slipped his phone into his pocket and said, We're not married. The sentence landed harder than I expected. What? We're not married, Claire. You can't tell me what to do. The room went quiet. For 2 years, I had thought we were moving toward marriage. Ethan apparently saw the absence of a ring as permission to behave however he wanted. I looked at him for a few seconds. You're right. His expression shifted. Exactly. We're not married. So stop acting like you're my wife. That did it. I didn't yell. I didn't argue anymore. I just looked at him and understood, finally, that I had been fighting for a version of the relationship he didn't seem to believe in. Ethan grabbed his jacket. I'll be back whenever I feel like it. Okay? Don't wait up. I won't. He slammed the door. I stood there for a minute, staring at the space he had just left behind. His sneakers were beside my couch. His controller was on the coffee table. Half my closet was filled with his clothes. His shampoo was in my shower, and his food took up an entire shelf in the refrigerator. 8 months of Ethan's life had spread through an apartment I had been paying for almost entirely by myself. I heard his words again. We're not married. You can't tell me what to do. How was right? I couldn't decide where he went, who he drank with, or whether he respected me. But I could decide what I was willing to keep supporting. I pulled the suitcases out of my closet and started packing. I wasn't throwing things around. I folded his clothes, paired his shoes, sealed his toiletries in bags, and wrapped his electronics. I photographed everything as I went, including timestamps. It felt overly careful until I remembered how quickly Ethan had turned a reasonable question into an accusation that I was controlling. Documentation suddenly seemed smart. I contacted the building's night desk, explained that Ethan and I had separated, and asked about storing his belongings somewhere secure while management reviewed the access issue. Because Ethan wasn't listed on the lease, the desk suspended the temporary building access credential he had been using until management could review the situation in the morning. They also let me place his packed belongings in my assigned basement storage unit so nothing would be left unsecured. By 11:43 p.m., the apartment looked almost unfamiliar. His charger was gone from beside the bed. His toiletries were out of the bathroom. The shelf in the refrigerator he had gradually taken over was nearly empty. For the first time in months, the place felt like mine again. I went to bed sometime after midnight. At 3:15 a.m., pounding on the front door woke me. Claire! More pounding. Claire, open the door! My phone showed several missed calls, followed by a text. My access isn't working. Let me in. I got out of bed and walked toward the hallway. Claire! Another bang shook the door. Are you seriously doing this? I didn't open it. I started recording instead. Then I sent him a message. Ethan, our relationship is over. Your belongings are packed safely in the building storage area. Security and management know where they are. Please stop pounding on the door. 3 seconds later, he exploded. What the hell do you mean our relationship is over? And hit the door again. Claire! Then came the sentence that turned a breakup into something much messier. I live here. A door farther down the hallway opened. Ethan lowered his voice for about 2 seconds, then started again. You can't lock me out of my own home. It's my apartment. I live here. And your things are downstairs. That doesn't mean I don't live here. I could hear another neighbor moving in the hallway. I sent Ethan one more text asking him to stop disturbing the floor and called security. Before they arrived, he threatened to call the police. Go ahead, I said through the door. That stopped him. For a moment. Then his voice changed. Claire, please. Baby, open the door. We're both upset. No, I didn't do anything. You told me exactly how you see this relationship. I was angry. You were clear. So that's it? 2 years means nothing. 2 years meant enough that I kept making excuses for you. His tone hardened again. You're going to regret this. The apology had lasted less than a minute. Security arrived a few minutes later. Sir, you need to lower your voice, the guard said. She locked me out. I live here. I understand there's a dispute. Right now you're disturbing other residents. She stole my stuff. I sent the guard the photos I had taken and the storage unit information. Ms. Bennett, he asked through the door. Yes? His belongings are accounted for. Yes. Everything is photographed and stored downstairs. Ethan cut in. That's not the point. I live here. The guard stayed calm. I'm not deciding residency rights in a hallway at 3:30 in the morning. Management can review that during business hours. Right now, your property is available with security present, and you need to stop causing a disturbance. Ethan went quiet. Then he said, I have nowhere to go. You came back from somewhere, I said. I didn't answer. The guard asked if he had anyone he could call. My friend's coming. For the next 20 minutes, Ethan texted me from the hallway. You're really doing this? I can't believe you. After everything I've done for you. Then, please, just let me sleep there tonight. I didn't respond. His friend eventually arrived and security escorted them downstairs to collect Ethan's things. At 4:31 a.m., one final message appeared. You'll be sorry. I blocked him. I didn't sleep after that. By 5, I was sitting at my kitchen table with coffee, replaying the night and wondering if I had gone too far. Then I remembered the messages from 3 women, the way Ethan laughed when I asked to come, and the ease with which he had said we weren't married, as if that settled everything. Sitting there, I knew this wasn't really about one fight. I'd been making excuses for Ethan for months. Saturday morning, Ethan found another way to contact me. The messages came fast. I'm sorry. I was drunk. Nothing happened. You're seriously throwing away 2 years over one argument. Please talk to me. Then, you're actually psycho. 5 minutes later, I love you. We can fix this. I blocked the account. 20 minutes later, an unfamiliar number called. "How dare you?" a woman said the second I answered. I pulled the phone from my ear. "Excuse me, how dare you throw my son onto the street in the middle of the night?" Ethan's mother, Mrs. Carter. Ethan wasn't thrown onto the street. Security helped him collect his belongings, and he left with a friend. He had nowhere to go. He had somewhere to go until 3 in the morning. There was a pause. "I was with friends." "Yes. So you punished him for going out?" "No. I ended a relationship after he made it clear he didn't think he owed that relationship basic respect. He said you were jealous because women were there. Several women were sending him flirtatious messages before he left." "You went through his phone?" "No, the messages appeared on the screen." She sighed. "Claire, relationships require trust. They also require honesty. He didn't cheat on you." "You don't know that." "He told me he didn't. And he told me I had no right to question what he did because we weren't married." I was upset. "He's 28, not 8. Her voice softened. "He loves you." That one hurt because part of me still loved him too. But loving someone didn't erase the way they treated you. "He may love me," I said, "but he doesn't respect me." I made a mistake. No, Friday was just the first time I stopped making excuses for the rest of them. She told me Ethan couldn't afford another apartment and that I had ruined his life. "He depended on you," she said. That sentence sat between us. I did depend on me. For rent, groceries, stability. But apparently not enough to think about how his choices affected me. "I'm sorry he's struggling," I said, "but I'm not taking him back." "You're heartless." "I'm done." I ended the call and blocked her number. Around 2 that afternoon, my friend Daniel called. He worked as a paralegal and was the one person I had kept available overnight. "Claire, you need to see something." "What?" "Ethan posted about you." The post described his abusive ex-girlfriend, who had suddenly thrown him out in the middle of the night. He said I had screamed at him. I hadn't. He said I had dumped his belongings in the hallway. I hadn't. He said things were damaged or missing. They weren't. Then I reached the part that made my jaw tighten. She always needed control. Last night I finally stood up for myself and she punished me for it. The comments were filling up. "Bro, that's abuse. Get a lawyer. Call the police. Expose her." Daniel said, "Don't reply." I wasn't planning to. "Good. Send me your photos and messages." I forwarded everything. He called me back a few minutes later. "You documented this better than most people document actual cases." Because I knew he'd twist it. Daniel went quiet for a second. "That tells you something." I didn't answer. "Save everything," he said. "Don't argue online. If he makes a real legal claim, deal with that. Don't fight him on social media." Sunday morning, 2 police officers knocked on my door. They had received a complaint about a possible illegal lockout and damaged property. I showed them the lease, the photos, the storage information, and the messages. One officer asked, "How long had Mr. Carter been staying here?" 8 months. "Did he receive mail here?" "Some." "Keep most of his belongings here?" "Yes." "Contribute financially?" "Very little, mostly groceries and utilities," when he remembered. The officers exchanged a look. The older one said, "Whether someone has residency rights can be more complicated than whether they're on the lease." My stomach tightened. "So am I in trouble?" "We're not arresting you. This may be a civil housing matter. If he formally claims residency, there may be procedures that have to be followed. You should speak with management or an attorney." The younger officer added, "As for the damaged property claim, what you've shown us doesn't support it." After they left, I called Daniel. He listened, then said, "Property is one issue. Residency is another. Don't make any more decisions about access yourself. Talk to management." "Can he just come back?" "Don't assume yes or no. Let management and their counsel deal with it." That was the first time the situation genuinely scared me. I wasn't afraid Ethan would hurt me physically. I was afraid of how messy this could become. Police, paperwork, and weeks of fighting over a living arrangement we had never properly thought through. Monday morning, I called the building manager. He already knew why. "We need to talk," he said. "What happened?" Ethan's mother came in. I closed my eyes. "What did she want?" "A key to your apartment." I sat up straighter. She said Ethan had been living there long enough that we had no right to deny him access. When we told her we weren't handing out keys without reviewing the situation, she threatened to sue the building. That afternoon, I met with him in his office. Hen had pulled the lease and documented everything from the weekend. "So what happens now?" I asked. "We don't decide residency disputes because someone shows up yelling at the front desk. If Ethan makes a formal claim, ownership's attorney will review it. Until then, no one is getting a key without authorization." That evening, one of Ethan's friends, Mark, texted me from a number I didn't recognize. Look, I know you're mad, but Ethan's really messed up. He didn't mean what he said. Then, I was feeling suffocated. He just wanted one night out without having to report everything he was doing. I stared at the message. I had asked one question after seeing 3 flirtatious notifications, and somehow that had become reporting everything. I replied once. Hein told me we weren't married, so I couldn't tell him what to do. I agreed. We're done. Please stop contacting me for him. Mark answered. You're being ridiculous. Everyone makes mistakes. I typed. I've made mine. I stayed too long. Then I blocked him. Tuesday and Wednesday passed without anything else. By Thursday evening, I had started to think Ethan might finally be backing off. Then I came home and found a sheet of paper taped across my door. Notice of illegal lockout and demand for immediate restoration of access. The page was full of legal language about tenant rights, statutory damages, and unlawful eviction. At the bottom, failure to restore access within 24 hours may result in legal action. My hands went cold. I photographed the notice before removing it, then sent it to Daniel. He called almost immediately. This is fake. You're sure? There's no court name, case number, filing date, clerk stamp, or attorney. It's a template with Ethan's name typed at the bottom. I looked at the page again. So I ignore it? Keep it. If someone is creating legal-looking documents to scare you, you want a record of that. I slipped it into the folder I had started keeping. The next morning, Ethan showed up at my workplace. A co-worker came to my desk around 10:40. There's someone in reception asking for you. Who? She hesitated. I think it's your boyfriend. Ex-boyfriend. Right, he's crying. Through the glass wall, I could see Ethan sitting in the waiting area with his elbows on his knees. The moment he saw me, he stood. Claire, you need to leave. Can we talk for 5 minutes? No, you blocked me everywhere. That was the point. A few people nearby had already started paying attention. Ethan lowered his voice. Please, I'm sorry. This is not the place. You didn't even give me a chance to explain. Ethan, leave. I didn't cheat on you. I never said you did. You're acting like I did. I ended the relationship because of what you said and how you treated me. His voice rose. You threw me out at 3 a.m. Heads turned. She locked me out of our apartment with no warning. There it was. I had found an audience. My manager, David, came out of his office. Is there a problem? Before I could answer, Ethan said, I'm Claire's boyfriend. Ex-boyfriend, I corrected. She locked me out and took all my stuff. I just need to talk to her. David looked at me. His belongings were photographed, stored, and returned through building security. I said, he has been told not to contact me. Ethan stared at me. You make it sound so cold. David stepped forward. Sir, this is a workplace. You need to leave. I have nowhere to go. That is not something we can resolve here. Ethan's face changed. The tears disappeared. Everyone here should know what kind of person she is. David's voice hardened. That's enough. She controls everything and then acts like she's the victim. Leave now, or I'm calling security. Ethan pointed at me. You're going to regret this. The room went silent. David reached for the phone. Ethan backed toward the door. I'm leaving. Then, just before walking out, he looked at me again. This isn't over. Afterward, David pulled me aside. You okay? I'm embarrassed. Don't be. You didn't bring this into the office. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing for him. Document what happened. If he comes back, you call me or HR. You don't meet him out here. That evening, an email appeared in my personal inbox. Final notice. Civil claim against Claire Bennett. It claimed to come from a law office representing Ethan and demanded $15,000 for unlawful eviction, theft of property, emotional distress, and reputational harm. It gave me 48 hours to settle. The signature said only legal department. The email address was Gmail. Daniel laughed when I forwarded it. This one's fake too. So he made another one. Looks like it. Should I respond? No. What if he thinks I'm scared? Daniel paused. Claire, who cares what he thinks? That shut me up. You're still managing his reactions, he said. You don't have to anymore. I was right. For 2 years, I had adjusted everything around Ethan. How I asked about money, how gently I brought up problems, when I dropped an argument because he was getting defensive. Even after the breakup, part of me was still anticipating him. I stopped. Saturday was completely quiet. Sunday morning at 6, the building's fire alarm started screaming. I woke up disoriented, grabbed my phone and keys and joined everyone heading for the stairs. People were outside in pajamas. A woman from my floor was holding her toddler. An older man from the second floor stood wrapped in a blanket. The fire department checked the building. No smoke, no fire. Then the manager came over. The alarm was manually pulled. I stared at him. Which floor? I didn't answer right away. My floor? Yes. Security pulled the footage. A man in a baseball cap and dark jacket had followed another resident into the building, taken the elevator to the 4th floor, and left less than a minute after the alarm was triggered. The angle wasn't perfect, but I recognized the walk. The jacket looked familiar too. The manager froze the frame. Is that Ethan? I swallowed. It looks like him. His jaw tightened. I'm filing a police report. Seeing everyone standing outside in pajamas changed the way I looked at what was happening. This wasn't just Ethan making my life miserable anymore. An entire building had been evacuated because someone wanted to scare me. Sunday afternoon, an attorney representing the building owner called. Hen had received Ethan's complaint about an alleged illegal lockout. I explained the situation from the beginning. 8 months living with me, no lease, inconsistent contributions, the breakup, the packed belongings, security, his mother demanding a key, the fake notice, the workplace incident, and the fire alarm. Do you have documentation? He asked. Yes, all of it. Almost. Send me everything. I did. Monday morning, he called back. Don't communicate directly with Mr. Carter about residency or access anymore. If he wants to make a legitimate claim, it goes through the proper process. Okay. The building is also treating the harassment separately. The false documents, repeated complaints, attempts to obtain a key, and the fire alarm incident are being documented. So he can't just keep showing up? No. He'll receive formal notice about contact with the property. The housing issue, if he pursues one, will be handled separately. That distinction helped. Whatever rights Ethan believed he had as a former occupant did not give him the right to terrorize me, my co-workers, or an apartment building full of people. That evening, around 7:30, I was making dinner when I received a social media message. The name was Samantha Reed. It took me a few seconds to place it. Then I remembered. Can't wait to see you tonight. One of the notifications from Ethan's phone. Her first message read, "This is awkward, but I think you should know something about Ethan." Then, I didn't know he had a girlfriend. And finally, Hein told me he was single. I sat down. How do you know him? We work in the same shopping center. Different stores. We've been talking for a few weeks. Were you with him Friday night? Yes, at first. What does that mean? There were 3 of us. I stared at the screen. 3? Me, Madison, and Chloe. The other 2 names from his notifications. Samantha continued. Ethan had been flirting with all 3 of us separately. I thought he was mainly interested in me. Madison thought the same thing. So did Chloe. I typed. And he told all of you he was single? Yes. Since when? Her answer took longer. A few weeks. He said his last relationship had ended months ago, and that he was temporarily staying at his ex's apartment while figuring out where to live. I read that sentence twice. His ex's apartment. That was me. Apparently, Ethan had already broken up with me in conversations I wasn't part of. I typed. We were still together Friday night when he left for the club. I'm sorry. Then Samantha told me what had happened. At the club, Ethan kept disappearing to talk to each woman separately. Madison finally asked Samantha how long she had been seeing him. Chloe overheard. The 3 of them compared stories. What happened? I asked. We confronted him. And? He said we had misunderstood. Of course. Madison asked to see his messages because he had told her she was the only woman he was talking to. He refused. Then Samantha sent. We all left him. I leaned back in my chair. That explained why he had come home at 3:15 furious instead of guilty. I hadn't chosen to come back to me. His other options had walked away. A few seconds later, Samantha sent another message. Claire, there's more. I almost didn't want to ask. What? I wasn't just planning to dance. My stomach tightened. He told me we could go back to my place afterward. Madison said he told her basically the same thing. Chloe too. Any doubt I still had disappeared. I asked for screenshots. Samantha sent them. Ethan, Friday can't come fast enough. Samantha, thought you said you were staying with your ex. Ethan, technically. Complicated. We're done though. Another. Samantha, what happens after the club? Ethan, depends how much trouble you want to get into. Then a screenshot Madison had shared. Ethan, wear the red dress. Madison, you like that one? Ethan, I like what's in it. I put my phone down and stared at the kitchen table. I had been paying most of his living expenses while he told other women our relationship was already over. My apartment had become part of his cover story. Samantha messaged again. When I saw him posting that you were abusive, it didn't make sense. He told us you two had already broken up before Friday. I thought you should know. I replied, thank you. She added, for what it's worth, none of us went home with him. That made Friday night look completely different. Ethan hadn't returned because he reconsidered what he said. He came back because the women he had been playing found each other. I sent the screenshots to Daniel. Had responded, that's very bad for his credibility. He told them I was his ex, I said when he called. I'm sorry. I'm not. I think I needed to see it. Still wondering if you overreacted. No, and for once I meant it without hesitation. The building's attorney sent Ethan formal notice later that week. Everything stopped for 7 days. No strange numbers. No fake notices. No workplace appearances. I started sleeping normally again. Then my cousin called. Claire, are you okay? Yeah, why? I got a message from you last night. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. What did it say? Hank hesitated. That you were having some kind of breakdown. That you might hurt yourself. My stomach tightened. I never sent that. He forwarded a screenshot. The account had my name, my profile photo, and pictures copied from my real page. But it wasn't mine. Someone was pretending to be me and messaging my friends and relatives. My cousin reported it. So did I. Several friends did the same. The account disappeared within a day. I suspected Ethan, but I couldn't prove it. And Daniel had already warned me not to make claims based on suspicion alone. So I documented it and changed every password I had. The next morning, my mother called. That boy called me. Ethan? Who else? My mother had never liked him much. She had never been rude, but months earlier, she had quietly asked me whether he contributed to anything. At the time, I defended him. He's struggling right now. Her response had been simple. Make sure right now doesn't become your whole life. Now, she said, he called me crying and said you ruined his life. What did you say? I asked whether you forced him to go clubbing with 3 women. I laughed despite myself. He also says you're financially abusive, she added. My smile disappeared. What? He says you controlled all the money and won't give him his savings back. What savings? That's what I asked. I had bank records showing exactly what Ethan contributed. Over 8 months, the verified transfers came to about $800 total. Not monthly rent. Total. My mother sighed. Claire, stop explaining yourself to everyone. That hit me harder than anything else, she said. 4 weeks, I had been explaining. To security, police, management, attorneys, co-workers, Ethan's mother, friends, family. As if everyone had to approve of the breakup before I was allowed to move on. I know what happened, my mother said. So do you. That's enough. 3 days later, Ethan's mother called from another number. This is all your fault. What is? Ethan has to move home. I waited. He can't stay with Mark anymore. He can't afford an apartment. I don't know what you want me to say. You stole his savings. No, I didn't. He gave you money every month. No, he contributed occasionally to groceries and utilities. He told me he paid rent. He didn't. Her breathing changed. For a second, I thought she might finally realize how much Ethan had been lying to her too. Then she snapped. Even if that's true, you knew he couldn't afford to live alone. Yes. And you still threw him out. I ended the relationship. You made him homeless. He's moving back in with his parents. Because of you. No, because he never built enough stability to live on his own. That's cruel. It's also true. She raised her voice. My son loved you. Then why was he telling 3 women he was single while living in my apartment? Silence. Why was he telling them we broke up months ago? Nothing. Why is he telling you he paid rent every month when the bank records say otherwise? Her voice dropped. I made a mistake. I closed my eyes. Mrs. Carter, I'm not discussing Ethan anymore. He's your responsibility too. No, he's an adult. I ended the call. A few days later, our mutual friend Jenna sent me a screenshot. You should probably see this before he deletes it. Ethan had made another public post, leaving a financially abusive relationship. He claimed I controlled the apartment because I earned more money, took his money, and used his financial dependence against him. Then I reached the comments. Chris, one of his friends, wrote, "Didn't you tell us for months you were basically living there rent-free?" Someone else added, "You literally said Claire covered almost everything." Then Tara, "You told me you were using the situation until you found something better." That one stopped me. Then Samantha appeared. "You told me you were single while still living with Claire and invited me back to my place that night." Madison replied, "Same." Then Chloe, "Me too." Someone asked, "Wait, 3 women on the same night?" Madison answered, "Yep." Another person simply wrote, Dude, I laughed harder than I probably should have. Ethan finally responded, "You people don't know the full story." Samantha replied, "Then explain why you told all three of us you were single." 5 minutes later, Ethan deleted the entire post, but the screenshots were already everywhere. For weeks, he had tried to turn me into the villain because I ended the relationship after one night out. Now the same women from that night were correcting him in public. Strangely, it didn't feel as satisfying as I expected. Public embarrassment didn't give me 2 years back. It just confirmed that I had stopped fighting for something that wasn't what I thought it was. About 3 weeks after the breakup, an unknown number texted me. "I hope you're happy." I knew immediately who it was. Then, "You ruined my life over one mistake." I stared at the message. One mistake, as if all of it could be compressed into one bad decision. The unpaid bills. The lies. 3 women. Fake legal threats. My workplace. The fire alarm. The fake account. The calls to my family. I typed one reply. "You told me I couldn't tell you what to do. You were right, but you never got to decide what I had to tolerate." I sent it. The typing indicator appeared immediately. I blocked the number before his response arrived. That was the last direct message I ever sent Ethan. Few days later, Daniel called with an update about the fire alarm. The building had turned over the security footage, access records, and its incident report to police. After following up on the report, they cited Ethan, and the building was also pursuing him for costs connected to the false alarm. The citation was around $500, with another roughly $300 in related costs. $800, almost exactly what Ethan had contributed to our household during 8 months of living with me. I laughed when Daniel told me. "What?" "Nothing. The number is just funny." I didn't ask. The residency dispute never became the courtroom battle Ethan had threatened. Once management's attorney took over and Ethan realized fake notices weren't going to force anyone's hand, he stopped pursuing access. After that, life became ordinary again. That mattered more than I expected. I went grocery shopping and caught myself reaching for Ethan's almond milk before remembering he wasn't there. At home, I would occasionally hear footsteps outside and glance toward the door out of habit. But the tension faded. My bills dropped, I started seeing friends I had neglected, and little by little I got back to ordinary things like cooking for myself and going to the gym. Eventually, I even went on a few dates. Nothing serious. One guy spent 45 minutes explaining cryptocurrency to me without asking a single question, so there was no second date. Another was perfectly nice, but I wasn't ready. For once, I didn't force myself to be. I had spent 2 years building a future in my head with Ethan. I didn't need to replace it immediately. One Saturday, I rearranged the apartment. I hadn't noticed how much of the furniture had been positioned the way Ethan preferred it. I moved the couch toward the windows, bought a small reading chair, and put a fiddle leaf fig beside it. The plant immediately started dropping leaves, but I kept it anyway. Once I finished moving everything around, the room finally felt like it belonged to me again. About a month after the breakup, I found an old photo in a drawer. Ethan and me at the state fair, smiling with a ridiculous stuffed unicorn between us. For a long time, I stared at it. I didn't feel angry. I felt sad for the version of us I had believed in. The good memories were real to me, so were the plans. Accepting what Ethan had done didn't require me to pretend those years had meant nothing. I put the photo back in the drawer. A few weeks later, my mother came over for dinner. She looked around the living room. "It feels different." I moved the couch. "It's not the couch." I smiled. "I know." She poured herself some wine. "You used to defend him before anyone even criticized him." I did not. "You absolutely did." I laughed. "He's tired," I said, imitating myself. "He's stressed," she added. "He's trying." "Exactly." I groaned. "Okay, point taken." Then she looked at me. "You okay?" This time, I actually thought before answering. "Yeah," and I meant it. Looking back, I spent too long making excuses for Ethan. When he didn't contribute, I told myself he was struggling. When he got defensive, I backed off. Even when 3 women were texting him before a night out, he somehow made me feel like I was the problem for asking questions. Then he gave me the answer himself. "We're not married. You can't tell me what to do." I was right. I couldn't stop him from going to that club, lying to 3 women, or pretending he was single. But I didn't have to keep paying for the apartment he came home to. The last I heard, Ethan was back at his parents' house posting about growth and healing. I stopped checking. My bills were lower, my apartment was peaceful, and nobody was pounding on my door at 3 in the morning anymore. The funny thing is, Ethan walked out that Friday night thinking he had won. By 3:15 a.m., he was outside my door with nowhere to go. I wanted to live like a single man, so I let him. Permanently.